15 changes and a whole new team from the side that beat England last week. We've got a new captain and some players set to make their debut. So let's go through the team and I'll give you my thoughts. So we're going to start with the front row. We've got Gareth Thomas, Dewi Lake as captain, and Thomas Francis. It's quite a strong front row. You could argue that would be Wales's first choice front row for the game against Fiji. I'm glad to see Dewi Lake given an opportunity as captain. Obviously we saw a really great performance out of Jack Morgan in the last game, but I'm glad to see Dewi Lake getting his opportunity to skip the team. I'll be interested to see how the scrum goes against England. Obviously Wales got penalised a couple of times, a few harsh penalties in the first game against England, so it'll be interesting to see if we can have a bit of parity from the start in that area. Also a big game for Tom Francis. I think he's got to put his hand up. He hasn't been great for Wales the last maybe year or so I think it's a big game for him. Then we've got the two Osprey second rows of Rhys Davies and Adam Beard. Really interested to see how Rhys Davies goes. He's only had 2 caps, but a lot of potential for him. He's a tenacious player, good around the park, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes in this game. Then we have the back row of Dan Lydiate, Tommy Raffel and Tane Plumtree at 8. I quite like the look of the balance of this back row. I'll be interested to see a bit more of Plumtree and to see him at 8, see what he's like when he's got a lot of carrying to do and see how he gets on with that. We know all about Dan Lydiate and what he offers to the team. I think he's probably the first choice at 6 at the moment, but I'm really looking forward to seeing a start for Tommy Raffel. Like I said on my previous video that I was really looking forward to seeing what he can offer this summer series, and with Jack Morgan putting in such a big performance last week, Raffel's really got to be at his best to keep himself in contention for that first game against Fiji. But to be honest, that's pretty close to what I would expect Wales's first choice pack to be. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And let's move on to the backs and the halfbacks. We have a partnership of the Williamses, not related as far as I know. Thomas Williams had a good impact off the bench. I thought Gareth Davies was actually really good, so it's a big opportunity for Thomas Williams to put his hand up. And outside him is Owen Williams. We last saw him in the Six Nations. I can't remember who he started against. I got a feeling it was Italy. Anyway, this is a big opportunity for him. We saw what Costello did on Saturday. Impressed quite a few people from what I've been reading online in the comments, and depending on what's going on with Gareth Anscombe's fitness, I think he's going to be fit for the World Cup. He was supposed to be fit for these friendlies, but we've yet to see him and he's not on the bench, so I definitely think a third outside half has an opportunity to get on the plane for the World Cup. So Owen Williams needs to put his hand up. He's a good player. He attacks the line, brings other players into the game. He's got a big boot and he's quite a big boy, so everything that Gatland likes in a player. And this is probably his one and only opportunity to make an impression. Moving on to the centres, we've got Nick Tompkins at 12 and a debutant in Joe Roberts at 13. I'm just going to leave Tompkins where he is at the moment and look at Joe Roberts. I'm really excited about this. I really thought that Joe Roberts did really well when he came in for the Scarlets last season. I think he's just a little bit of a different option to the other centres we have, and he's a young guy, potentially the future for Wales. There's not really anyone nailing down the centre spots other than probably George North, so it's interesting to see these young centres who are coming in and getting an opportunity. He's partnered up with Nick Tompkins. Anyone who's listened to the channel before probably knows that I'm not a big fan of Nick Tompkins, so if you're not a fan of Nick Tompkins, maybe you should subscribe to the channel. I can see Gatland's thinking he wants to get minutes in him, and he's an experienced player to partner the first cap player in Joe Roberts. But I'm just hoping that that's all it is. I just don't rate him. I don't know what it is about him. There's just something. I just feel he causes chaos in the defensive line when he's attacking. He seems all over the place. I'm just not sure. He's loved by the Saracens and the fans seem to like him, so he's obviously doing something right, but just in my opinion I can't see it. Moving swiftly on to the back three, we've got Tom Rogers, Josh Adams and Liam Williams at fullback. Good to see Josh Adams back fit. Maybe hasn't been his best the last year or so, but I think he's been generally a world-class operator on the wing for Wales, with very few opportunities and stuff created inside for him. He's just an out-and-out try scorer. On the other wing we've got Tom Rogers. He's had 2 caps for Wales, another Scarlets player, and again it's great to see these young players getting an opportunity. Wales seems to have a lot of depth on the wing. We've also still got Cuthbert injured. We've seen Mason Grady play on the wing for Cardiff. So a lot of stiff competition for Tom Rogers, but he's got his opportunity now. He's playing outside his Scarlets teammate in Joe Roberts, so it's an opportunity for them to play together. They obviously know each other well. So an opportunity for Tom Rogers, and good luck to him. And we all know what Liam Williams is about, always 100% for Wales, and well, for anyone who he plays for. He's been dealing with injuries, but important to get some minutes in his legs. I think Halfpenny really did put his hand up and potentially nailed down that spot at 15. But great that Wales have these options, two good players. They're both getting a bit up in age now. I'd like to see some youngsters coming through at fullback, but Liam Williams always played well for Wales and always gives 100%, like I said. So we'll quickly run through the bench. We got Sam Parry of the Ospreys. I believe he got called up due to the injury to Ken Owens, but had a good season for the Ospreys. Scored a lot of tries and is well deserving of his spot on the bench. We got Kemsley Mathias and Dylan Lewis covering the rest of the front row. Dylan Lewis, we know what he's all about. He's good around the park. Scrimmaging can be suspect at times, but he's got plenty of experience, 50 caps now. And then we have Kemsley Mathias of the Scarlets making his debut. Congratulations to him. I don't know a lot about him, haven't seen a lot about him, but I've heard he is one for the future. So congratulations to Mathias. Will almost certainly come off the bench to earn his first cap for Wales. Covering second row will be Chris Chinza. We know his versatility. He can play pretty much anywhere over the back 5. I'd actually be intrigued to see him get a few games in second row and see if that is a position where he can flourish at. Covering the back row is Tane Basham. Has been slightly the forgotten man a little bit under Gatland. We can remember when he burst onto the scene. He was great, very destructive with the ball. I think his biggest issue has been in defence. Not that he can't defend or anything, it's just he's maybe not as prolific at getting the turnovers and getting around the ball as someone like Jack Morgan or Tommy Raffel. But a strong ball carrier, another option for everywhere across the back row, so always good for depth, particularly going into a World Cup. And maybe a big impact off the bench, could see him perhaps get like a run out at 8 or 6, who knows. Scrum half is Kieran Hardy, always plays well for Wales. Different type of player again from Thomas Williams and Gareth Davis, so good to have a bit of depth in that position. Dan Biggar covering outside half. We know all about him. We don't have to talk about Biggar. He speaks for himself. And also Kieran Hardy finishing the bench off. Perhaps can feel a bit disappointed not to be starting. I know a lot of people have been clamouring for him. He's been absolutely outstanding for the Ospreys all season. The main issue and his main criticism, and it's not really his fault, is he's just not big enough for international rugby, which I don't really agree with. He's so strong, low centre of gravity when he's carrying that ball, finds good holes, runs good lines. I think if you're quality enough, then you can sort of negate the size difference. But anyway, we'll almost certainly get on and win his first cap this weekend, so congratulations to him. Hopefully he comes on for Tompkins. Anyway, that's the team. I think it's going to be a different game to the first England game. England probably going to pick more of a first choice team and will almost certainly sort out those handling errors. And as we know, Twickenham, really tough place, but I think more importantly is going to be the individual performances rather than the result. But I don't want to sound defeatist saying that. It's a good team and they've got a good opportunity for players to put their hand up. If there's anyone you would have liked to have seen in the team, or if you disagree with any of my opinions, please feel free to comment below. Thanks for watching, subscribe.